I think we're live now. The live is starting. Um, Hello everybody. This is Ahmed Ali, and uh, I do welcome all of you to this special interview with two of the top educators and accreditation experts around the world. In this interview, it is my honor to host Dr. Ray Lindley and Dr. Jacob Franken. The purpose of this interview is to celebrate the launch of another accreditation body in the United States and highlight what the organization may offer to schools around the world, and particularly in the Middle East. Let me at the beginning introduce my guests. You can see my screen now. So I'm gonna go directly to the website, Array's website, where I can best introduce my guests. That's our website here. First of all, Dr. Ray Lindley, thank you for accepting to join me in this interview. Dr. Ray Lindley, Executive Director and member of founding board. Dr. Ray Lindley has been a professional educator for many years. He completed his Bachelor of Arts degree in Language and Literature, Master of Science in Education Administration, and Doctor of Education degree in Counseling Psychology. He has been a director for the Department of Education in the Office of Curriculum and Instruction, where he helped regulate schools in the US. Dr. Lindley has been an administrator for accrediting international schools for over 20 years. He recently was named by his university as Educator of the Year and then Alumnus of the Year. Dr. Lindley has been president of the National Association of State Textbook Administrators and president of the National Association of State Administrators, Supervisors of Private Schools. In addition, he has provided expert witness reports on educational issues for legal firms. Thank you, Dr. Ray. Hello to this interview.
Thank you.
I've also have on this interview Dr. Jacob Franken, Associate Director and member of founding board. Dr. Jacob Franken has worked with schools in the US and abroad for several years. He completed his Bachelor of Science in Chemistry and Physics, Master of Arts in Russian Language, Literature and Linguistics, Master of Education in Educational Leadership, and Doctor of Education degree in Educational Leadership. He has been a principal of both private and public schools, a superintendent of a school district, and a professor. He has worked with different accreditation bodies and enjoys working with international schools around the globe. Dr. Franken has been named Principal of the Year and recognized as Educational Leader of the Year by his university. Thank you so much, Dr. Jacob, for being here in this interview.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So let us just start the interview. As I said, the purpose is to celebrate the launch of Array Global Educational Services, and we're going to highlight some facts about what accreditation is and what schools should do in order to be accredited, and whether accreditation is granted only to private schools, international schools. Is it only to schools? Do universities get accreditation? Do colleges get accreditation? Do training centers get accreditation? This is what we're going to see in this interview. So let me start by asking the first question. What job do accreditation agencies normally do, and why do schools need accreditation?
It's a great question. Thanks, Ahmed, and thank you for hosting this. I think, to begin with, let's look at the word accredit. Accredit. What does that really mean for something to be accredited? And I think if we look it up for the definition, obviously accredit means to give assurance that something meets a certain standard. We go to any business and we want to know, do they meet standards? And so that's the whole concept of accreditation. And I think we need to understand that in our English language, accreditation is a verb, something you do, rather than a noun, something you are. Sure, people like to have the accreditation plaque on their wall and say, we are accredited. Somebody came in, evaluated us, looked at us, and they think, we're worthy of having this title. However, that's really not the only purpose of accreditation. Because accreditation, if it's really used properly, it's something you continue doing. And so for us to say a school is accredited, there's a long list of things that they have to do to demonstrate that they are meeting these particular standards. But the key also is after the school has looked at itself to say, looking at this set of standards, this set of accreditation standards, here's where we think we are on this one. And frankly, rarely do we go into a school where they don't need help to meet the standards. And that's why we then become the process part of accreditation to help schools understand, okay, here's where you are. Now let us give you some help to where you want to be. And we really believe that accreditation and a school accreditation has to demonstrate that students are learning and improving in their learning. If you say you're accredited and you say that you have the most wonderful teachers in the world and the best building and the best policies and everything, and students aren't growing in their learning, you're wasting your time. So that's what we hope to do, is to help schools understand that we want to work with you to help students learn better. Sure, there are a lot of other things, building facilities, all this kind of stuff that's really important, the policies, your teacher preparation program, all of these things are important, but the end goal is our students learning. And that's really the goal of accreditation, to emphasize that students will continue to grow in their learning.
Thank you so much. Okay, talking about Array Global, is it all about accrediting schools, or are there other services that Array is presenting to schools or to educators around the world?
Yeah, Ahmed, I will field that question. But let me go back to accreditation too. Just want to let you know, when we talk about accreditation, we at Array Global, we accredit several different types of institutions and programs. The first is a K-12 program, primary, middle school, high school. We accredit international schools, international schools, national schools, and post-secondary vocational schools. And then also another big one that's growing because of this the coronavirus is distance-based institutions. So we want to work with all different types of institutions, regardless of what language they teach in too. So if we have schools in Kazakhstan that are interested and they're national schools and they teach primarily in Russian or Kazakh, we'd be interested in working with those types of schools. Some other services that we provide that we're really, really excited about is certification services. So we could come into a school that's accredited by us and certify a STEM program or a STEAM program that's gaining a lot of notoriety now. Another service that we do is we have a lot of consultants that we work with. Most of the consultants are from the United States, but we have consultants in several different countries, you being one of them, which we're excited to have as one of our consultants. And we provide so many different topics that we can support schools in their development process. Just like Dr. Ray was indicating, accreditation is not an event, it's a process. And so we will help any school in that process that they're involved in any phase that they're in. They could be a school that's 20 years old, but every school needs to improve. It could be a school that hasn't even opened yet, and we will work with them on organizing their facilities, talking to them about what they need to set up as far as policies and procedures. We'll work with schools in their teacher development program, setting up their structure, their course schedule, their school hours, graduation requirements, their health plan, all those different types of things. And then also the big one is curriculum development. We have some excellent people who we work with that can really help any school at any phase with their curriculum or any area. Another service that we provide is professional development. And we've partnered with a great company, Epic Center, and they provide teacher certification process. And then they also were really excited to provide a program called International Certified Accomplished Teacher. This goes above and beyond just a regular certified teacher. This is showing a teacher that is putting a lot of effort and energy into improving their practices. We also offer a professional educators association. So a principal could join this association, a teacher could join this association. It's a way that they can network and communicate regularly and talk about issues that are affecting them. For example, professional educators associations around the globe have been meeting regularly, almost weekly, to talk about how to deal with this coronavirus. And so it's a good way to network, talk about solutions, and talk about issues that people are getting affected with. Also, we have an awards and recognition program, which we're very, very excited about. If a school is accredited by Array Global, they can apply to be accredited with merit. And so we can recognize their extra efforts that they're doing. Also, we have a Teacher of the Year process, Principal of the Year process. We also want to recognize students and their great work that they do. So we want to spotlight a student once a month or a couple students a month. And we also want to recognize schools every single month, spotlight a school. And we have a school that we're going to be spotlighting in the next week or so. We also offer a distance-based education program. We've partnered with a school called Fayday, and they have an excellent LMS program. We also offer external assessments. We know there are many external assessments out there, and we want to provide something that is cost-effective and provides quality data for institutions and teachers in their improvement process. And we've partnered with a company called Tree Test that is not only cost-effective, but it's also a quality program for schools to utilize. And then the last one, I know we have several to go over, but the last one is academic Olympiads. And this is an opportunity where students around the globe can get together and they can compete. They'll build relationships with one another and be able to see, where their talents are at. And there are some pretty big prizes for those students that win these types of Olympiads. So just like Dr. Ray said, it all ties back to the improvement process. We are here to help schools improve, and we're here to really focus in on helping each one of the students be successful and meet their potential.
So let me conclude, and correct me if I'm wrong. So based on the array of services that you are providing in Array, you're trying to achieve the real mission behind accreditation, that accreditation is not just a visit once every 5 years. You're trying to connect schools, to connect teachers, to connect students, and to provide services, ongoing services, yearly services on all levels. Is that true?
Well, yeah, that's definitely true. And that's one of the things that Dr. Jake and I have been very, very serious about, because what we don't want is to think that accreditation is a visit, it's over, you can put it on the shelf for 5 years, pull it in 5 years. We want it to be a continual process. And I should say also that when we're looking at this, and Dr. Jake's done a wonderful job of explaining all of the things that we want to do with schools, but really our very basic mission is that we want to help institutions prepare students for a global society. Imagine the need for the global society that we have today just because of the recent issues with the coronavirus. We really do have to think, because we can't escape the fact that this is a worldwide issue. We have to accept that global society means that we've really got to work together. We've got to support each other in this. And I believe, I guess I've been in enough schools, both in the US and internationally, most everybody wants to really, really prepare those students for the global society. And that's important to us.
Okay, I've got another question. And maybe Jacob has already talked about this briefly, but I would like to highlight this issue. What type of schools do you normally accredit? Is it only international schools?
No, we accredit international, national, and post-secondary schools. So in Saudi Arabia, where you're at, if a national school is interested and they teach all of their curriculum in Arabic, we would come in. Obviously, we would have some very qualified Arabic-speaking educators that would help us in the process. We'd have probably one of us administrators leading that process, that accreditation process, and making sure that schools are meeting those standards, because we do believe that schools, regardless of what language they're teaching in, they should still meet a standard, and parents and students should have that quality assurance that those standards are being met, and like Dr. Ray was saying, that we're preparing each one of the students for a global society.
Yeah, and I think in just emphasizing what he just said, quality is quality. And if you're teaching in French or German or Arabic or whatever the language is, there are still the things that you should do to be a quality institution. And we believe in that. And we were very fortunate that we've been allowed to accredit some schools in the US. And so we're able to, many schools that we go to internationally want to know, well, what do they do in the United States? And we're able to share that, and we can partner with some institutions here in the United States who can work with them because they're already accredited by us also.
Mm-hmm. Okay, could you briefly highlight the process schools should follow in order to obtain accreditation?
Well, I'll jump in. I think Dr. Jake he's very much involved in the responsibility for doing this. But the first thing that we always suggest, or we do, is we ask the school to go on our website, check us out, look over the things there, and if they're interested, fill out an application. And once they fill out the application, Dr. Jake and I are the only ones who receive these applications. And then we begin working with the school in the process. As Dr. Jake said, it might be a brand new school and say, hey, we want to get started. And so we can help them get started. It might be a school that's been in existence for several years, and they want to look at the accreditation. Some countries require that an international school or American style school be accredited by an American agency. And so at that time, we write a letter for the school that they would then give to the ministry saying, they're in the process of accrediting with us. So then we really start the process. And then we, depending on the level of the school or how new the school is, we do either an initial or provisional accreditation. If the school basically meets the standards, and we go in and feel that the school is directly on the path to meeting all of the accreditation standards, we will grant provisional accreditation for 1 year. And that helps them to understand, or their patrons to understand, that yes, we've met some beginning standard. And then we go back in a year to do the 5-year accreditation, and we follow through on that. There are fees involved. The new school application fee is $350 American dollars. And the transfer fee for this year, if a school is already accredited by another agency and wants to transfer to us, we're not charging a transfer fee this year. And the other thing that we're doing, and we're doing this largely because of the issues schools have faced with the shutdown and everything, for this year only, the 2020 and 2021 school year, we are reducing the annual fees from $2,500 to $2,000 because we want schools to know that we do understand the issues that you faced. And so we're willing to make that consideration this year. And Dr. Jake, I don't know if I completed everything in the process that I might have missed.
So
no,
this is a kind of advantage that you're providing schools for the coming academic year.
That's correct.
That reducing the annual fees.
That's correct.
That's great. Okay, I've got another question, which is, for how long? You already said that schools are normally accredited for 5 years, yes. But I know that some schools don't get accredited for 5 years. Could you just elaborate on that point?
Dr. Jake, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Well, every school is at a different level. And so some schools might need a little bit additional support. And we want to make sure that partnership that we have with them is a little bit closer during those years where a school might need a little bit more support to meet the standards and quality assurance that we have. And so a school perhaps could be, instead of being fully accredited for 5 years, we might say, hey, we need to come back after a year. These are the things that we want you to have in your areas of improvement. We're going to come back in a year and visit the school and check on it. But during the course of that year, we're going to maintain that relationship, maintain that communication, and work with the school to kind of shore up those weak areas that they may have. Because again, it goes back to providing the best education for each one of the students. So,
and there's a philosophy that I think is really important for us to consider. And I've used this term before. We don't not accredit schools. We might say not yet, but here's what you have to do to be accredited. We just go and say, sorry, you didn't make it, we're out of here. We go in and say, here are the things that you have to do. And we might withhold the accreditation, or as Dr. Jake said, it might not be for the full 5 years, but we will work with the school to help them fit what they need. And so we don't go in and just, it's one size fits all. And if you don't meet the standard, sorry, see you later. We go in and if there are issues, big issues, we say, not yet, but here's what we need to do to help you get to that point.
Mm-hmm. So this is what you mean by by participating in accreditation teams. Sometimes, like, we write some required actions to schools. So instead of rejecting the school altogether, we just say you have some required actions. Once you work on them, once you improve that, you can be fully accredited. Is that true?
Yeah, actually, in our association, we're calling the areas, instead of required actions, they're called areas of improvement, because every school has an area of improvement. And Dr. Ray and I have been to many, many schools, and it's very rare to find a school that has no areas of improvement. And so those areas of improvement become the top list of their improvement plan. And that's what they want. That's what they should focus on, because they've had an external group come in and say, this is what you're needing to focus on to provide the best quality education for each one of your students. And again, we'll follow up with the schools and helping them ensure that they're meeting those areas of improvement, and then providing counsel and support and consulting services if they do need to provide that. And some of them, one of the biggest area that we find that schools struggle with is finding a quality external assessment and then using that data for quality school improvement purposes. And so that's one reason why we've come forth with so many different types of services, because these are a lot of the areas that schools really struggle in, not just external assessment, but also professional development. A lot of schools through the Middle East and other countries don't have a specific teacher certification process. And that's why we want to provide some specific professional development for each one of those teachers, so they can become certified and they can provide the best education that they can in their classrooms.
All right. I have a question related to that. What are the basic requirements any educational institution needs to address in order to become accredited? The requirements without which an institution cannot attain accreditation.
Well, first of all, that's a good question, because this way I can encourage people to look on our website, because there you'll find the basic requirements. But we have 5 standards, and they cover all areas. Sometimes when people ask me what I do, and I say it's kind of like everything that makes the doors of the school open, we look at. We look at custodial services. I mean, it's easy to talk about curriculum and teacher qualifications and those, but everything that makes the doors of the school open, we look at. In fact, we're very fortunate that one of our consultants has expertise and degrees in building management, and we've never had that before. And so we can help in that area also. But basically, we're going to be looking at everything, but curriculum, of course, is paramount. We have to look at a standardized curriculum that's based on some standard. We have to look at the teacher qualifications. We have to look at the teacher behavior, teacher in the classroom. We have to look at policies and procedures. One of the things we require, for instance, is that they have a very clear a policy for any stakeholder who wants to file an appeal or a complaint against the school for some reason, because we require schools to have a policy. How do you handle this? And but probably the one that I've just not really emphasized enough is what we call the improvement standard. And every school has to have some kind of an improvement policy where they can go in and with data say, here are what the needs of our students are. And the improvement policy has to be student directed. You know, you might think you need a new facility with more beautiful landscaping and all that, and that's all good stuff. But really, we really emphasize to the school, your improvement needs to show how students are doing better. If you want to say one of our strategies is to build a new building, you're going to have to demonstrate how students learn better in this facility than the old, you know, that's a kind of thing. And I know that might be just a minor issue, but that's one of the biggest things. And we want to help schools understand. I've often said, what information, if you know, or could find out, would help you to make better decisions about your students. Mm-hmm. You know, several years ago in the United States, they found out that many of the students were coming to school without breakfast. And well, you know, you can't really think well and work well if you don't have breakfast. So they initiated the breakfast program in the United States so that many students, they would feed breakfast at school because they weren't getting it at home for whatever reason. So those are the kinds of strategies. But the goal is students will learn better. And that's why we emphasize that so much. I don't know if that totally answers your question, but I would encourage people to look on our website, see what our standards are. As you said earlier, we've been involved with other accrediting agencies. And you know what? Accreditation is pretty much the same across the board as far as what's required. What we hope is the services and the attitude we provide to help schools will be attractive.
Thank you so much. Okay, I've got one last question on my list. During your visits to several countries, you used to hold workshops everywhere you went. How do you select the topics needed for the workshops? And how do you select the professionals who give the workshops? And finally, why do you think such events are beneficial for educators?
Well, as far as selecting the topics, we have really two avenues of selection of topics. Number one is when we get input from schools to say, hey, could we have some training in, and they'll tell us what they want training in. That's one way. The other way is since we go to so many schools, we're able to observe what we see as perhaps a general need. We can't cover every particular topic every time. So there's both the school input and then our observation of what's happening in schools. And so we then try to provide workshops or whatever to help the schools in general. Then we look for among our consultants, and if you look on our website, we have some wonderful consultants, you being one.
They are wonderful, yes.
They were all hand selected. We were very particular about it.
We need somebody specifically in curriculum develop. How do you start from scratch to develop a curriculum? That might be one of the subjects. How do we deal with student conduct? That might be one of the, and so it's both a combination of what they see they need and what we do. So then we find the people who are, we believe can give the best information, the best workshop in that area. So that's how we do. And one other thing that we have done in one country, we haven't extended the offer to other countries at this point, but there are some times, and we're hoping this will happen, that an individual school will want to have one of our workshop presenters or one of our consultants come just to that school to do a workshop just for their teachers or their staff. And we certainly want to facilitate that when it's requested, because sometimes the issues are individual to a school. And when you talk in general, you might not be hitting right at the thing that they want the most. So that's how we basically select topics and facilitators. And I can only say again, look at our list of consultants. We have some outstanding consultants there we can bring to schools.
But let me add to that too. Check out our professional.
Is there anything else about? Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let me address a little bit more about professional development, because with this COVID-19 situation, there have been more and more opportunities to learn online. And so when you look at our website on professional development, we offer some online courses too, because it can be expensive to bring out a presenter to your school or to multiple schools in that country. And so look at the opportunities that we have there, because we can provide a hybrid program where it's online and face-to-face, or we could just do all online, or we can come right over to the school itself. But one other point that I'd like to make is we've done workshops in countries for absolutely free. And often we charge a minimal amount, but sometimes we do it for free. And it's kind of one of the items that we focus on in this organization is we want to help schools out. We're not in it to get wealthy. Our focus is to really help each individual student meet their potential, and each school improve, and each community improve, which in turn improves the world. And that's our goal and our focus. And so we're excited to be part of it and be part of schools and helping them in their improvement efforts, and just seeing the wonderful people that we come in contact with. Because like we've always said, and Dr. Ray's referred to it a couple of times, we're here to build relationships with schools, because that's what really helps things change and improve.
Let me just confirm what you said about, that we sometimes provide free workshops to schools. And I'm going to just tell about an incident that really happened to me while I was in my previous school. And we were accredited, and Dr. Ray was there actually. And he figured out that we needed, some training in, I don't know whether you remember that or not. That was 6 years ago. He voluntarily came to the school himself just for free, as kind of courtesy from him, and he provided a workshop where all the teachers who attended this this workshop. So yes, there is, sometimes it is not only about finances. Sometimes, whenever you have time and you see that there is a need, we can actually, fulfill that need. Is there anything else about Array that you would like to highlight to our audience today?
I don't know. I'm good at answering questions.
Well, let me add a little bit more to the professional development, Ahmed, because when a school goes through this process, it's probably one of the best professional development opportunities a school can have. And then when we come into this school, I'm always amazed when Dr. Ray shows up to a school, because it in and of itself is a professional development opportunity for the school and for those that are with him doing the visit. And hopefully that's the same with all of our visitors when we go to schools, is when we do a visit, we're not just there trying to find things that the school can improve on, but we're trying to educate. We're trying to help and support the school in their improvement efforts. And we try to do it in a way that the school feels like that they're a partner in that whole process, and that we're not coming down on them. We just want to see them improve and again, provide the best education that they possibly can.
And I hope, I want to say also that I hope that we've given the message that we're all about helping schools. It's not an event. It's over, put it on the shelf. We really want a continual working relationship with our schools. That's why we have so many consultants who are willing to work with schools. And that's what we really want to have happen.
Great.
And also, let me add one more thing too, is
yeah, sure.
When you join the Array Global family, we need people to be part of visits. We want other administrators, other teachers to go and visit other schools with us. And again, that's an amazing, amazing professional development opportunity.
Exactly.
I've often heard from some of our team members, because Ahmed, you've been on many of my teams.
Yeah. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a
Yeah.
lot. We're not there just to evaluate or to assess the school, but I always say that in every visit that I go, I learn something from that particular school. And there are practices that I see, and I come back to my own school and try to apply that, and it works.
Yeah, and often I think for the team members, it's more of them just reflecting on the improvement process. And realizing that a school should always be looking for areas that they can improve on. But I can tell you, for the Americans that we bring over too, they all say how amazing of a professional development opportunity it is for them. Some of them say it's the best professional development they've ever been part of. And it's not just the improvement process, but it's that connection. It's that relationship with quality people, great people that are trying to do the same thing in the United States as they are in Saudi Arabia, as in Egypt or in Malaysia or wherever else. Building those relationships with students, helping develop character, and helping provide the next generation with the education that they need to be quality global citizens.
Great. Let me just, if you're through with your questions, let me just say that I think that Dr. Jake and I and everybody we're working with in Array Global, we all have the same motivation, and that is we have to help students. Dr. Jake mentioned something about the professional development. One of the things that we believe really helps all countries, all people, is when we talk with each other. And that's why bringing the Americans over or having people from the country be involved in the accreditation visit, they learn, hey, you know what? We're more alike than we are different. And that's really, really important. And everybody's always, especially Dr. Jake is always joking with me about, I love poetry. I just want to offer one thing to you. I heard a long time ago this statement that our job is not finished until we've prepared the next generation. And I really believe strongly that our responsibility as adults, educators who've been around a while, some longer than others, we have a responsibility to bring up the next generation. A few years ago, Josh Groban wrote this beautiful song that the words, I love to use this in workshops sometimes for inspiration of teachers. And the chorus of the song goes like this. It says, you raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I could be. And we need to put these students on our shoulders and say, we want to raise you up to be more than you thought you could be. And that's really our motivation and what we want to emphasize.
Thank you so much. This is actually very motivating and very insightful. And I wish we could just achieve all these dreams and help schools reach the summit of education. Thank you so much. I'm very much honored to have you both in this interview. If you have anything else to say, you're most welcome, or if you would like that we can conclude. Uh, Actually, I was planning to conclude the meeting by asking you to recite a couple of lines from any poem that you know, but you already.
I was hoping he was going to.
When I go into schools, I'll recite more. Understand, I was a language and literature major in my undergraduate work, so I learned a lot of stuff, and you know, they motivate me. We all get motivated by different things. I get motivated by good words.
Thank you, Ahmed. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much
Jake.
for hosting this, and my best to you as you continue your work. You're a tremendous educator. We have a lot of confidence in you, and thank you for doing it.
Thank you so much. And my last word to the audience, if you have any questions, post them in the comments, and we're going to reply to all your questions shortly, inshallah. Thank you so much, and goodbye. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.